Classic review time, boom! Today's album is one of the most violent black metal albums there has ever been and most likely ever will. So let's welcome in this 19-year-old case, oh what a sweet age, Marduk from Sweden and their last album of 1990s era. That is their sixth album called Panzer Division Marduk. You read that right. So let's take a look. My personal collection has this kind of a limited version with this heavy metal kind of emblem of sorts, and inside it is having also this real cover that is a tank, a real war machine. There's no point much to kind of do so much as unboxing these classic albums because people who already have it, they have it. There's no reason for do that, and those who don't, well, this is not an unboxing video, this is about talking the music within. Now, curiously enough, this limited edition at least doesn't have the lyrics. There are simply black and white pictures of, tanks, and that's basically it. Well, it's a kind of a bad photo, but whatever. So, Panzer Division Marduk is an interesting case in Marduk's whole discography. Being the sixth album, that probably got a lot of attention because of its sheer violence. Less than 30 minutes long, it's kind of a Marduk's own version of, Slayer's Raining Blood. Vicious, fast tempo, intense, and straight to the point. Now, curiously enough, on Metal Archive's site, where you're gonna actually read some reviews as well, this is the most reviewed album by far. That is, no else Marduk album has nearly, like half the amount of reviews there. And curiously enough, this one has the least average score than any other Marduk full-length albums, which in my opinion is just something ununderstandable. In my books, this is probably the Marduk album that makes, I don't know if it makes most sense, but is the most impactful Marduk album there has ever been. Now, previously Marduk was already known as this band who could play really fast and intense black metal, very vicious riffs, straight razor sharp production, and kind of this evil but more violent feeling than many of its kind of Swedish counterparts. But with Panzer Division Marduk, they kind of changed the rules on the table. They went, straight machine gun fire instead of having these kind of softer songs like, Opus Nocturne and whatever. And also the previous ones, which was like a little bit more rawish, not so much defining Marduk's music. But Panzer Division Marduk, in my opinion, it kind of changed the course, at least for a little while, and it made kind of clear that now this black metal was not only fast tempo and vicious, but it was also having this new level of violence, this intensity that, like I said, was, shooting at the enemy with, these hellfire bullets, like a real machine gun. I'm not saying that real machine guns do hellfire bullets, but don't get stuck with that. So it's kind of curious that this album is, by some people, rated as the least likable Marduk album, because in my opinion, while this is just an album with basically a song repeating itself in different variations, I think this one is a real killer, a real modern classic. Now that it's 19 years old and I just went listening to it before doing this video, obviously, I just find it as fascinating as I found it back in 1999. Now, one could say that this album is quite boring because it offers nothing but these fast tempo songs, one after another, and there's nothing that can change it. There are no sweet ballads, there are no sweet intros, outros, there are no soft parts, there's nothing to, forgiving in a way. It's just relentless pursuit of war, and these, even the tanks on the cover and the, inside pictures, they kind of make no sense. Tanks are heavy as hell, but they are also slow as frigging whatnot. and thus it kind of feels like this imagery is totally wrong versus, you know, these um, fighter planes that you can actually hear on the background of some of the songs, which then again are, you know, quick and fast as a shark, and, you know, spreading death left and right and front and back and whatnot. But Panzer Division Marduk, in my opinion, is not just about the speed and intensity. It's so fierce, it's so compact, it's kind of, like I said, straight to the point. And every detail on this album, from the very hateful way of singing, this kind of a really hateful shriekiness, is something that is in perfect match with those guitar riffs. Everything from these, you know, the very first track to the very end is just, you know, killing left and right. It's just, you know, like this machine gun, like I always say. And I don't know. In my opinion, there's nothing wrong with this album. I mean, there are no annoying tracks or tracks that feel dull. And because it's kind of so short for an album, but yet so intense, it kind of keeps me on my toes, you know, for the whole length. And even though there is kind of a repetition, it doesn't matter because, like Slayer's Raining Blood, this also kind of, you know, keeps it all interesting. Surely there are some tracks that are more memorable, you know, just based on their name, like Baptized. What the hell? Now I just, you know, Baptized by Fire. God damn, Baptism by Fire. And also, you know, the end track, Fist Fucking God's Planet. I mean, those are the kind of chorus parts which just, you know, are so memorable. They are something that you can actually sing along, in a, you know, on a Marduk gig, and that is something that is not very, you know, typical with, you know, this kind of intensity with black metal and all that stuff. So while these tracks are not exactly, you know, I mean, the most of them, they are not memorable, like that riff here and there and blah blah blah. I mean, it's not like you probably end up talking with your musician friends like what kind of guitar riff there is on this and that part. And I think it's kind of a hard album to rhyme, you know, you know. But these chorus parts and the whole intensity on the whole album, the whole level of this album is just like some killing machine. For me, it's hard not to like this kind of music. I mean, there are many bands, or many and many, but quite a few bands that actually try to sound like what Marduk is doing when they're doing at its best. You know, just kind of trying to copy the fast-paced tempo and trying to have the similar kind of riffs there, and, you know, maybe even the vocals and sounds. But when those riffs fail, they fail to copycat the album properly, or the band. And even though Marduk is mostly good with its discography, for me, for some reason, this one is the most intense of it all. Probably the best album in my opinion, or at least I could say so on my behalf. Panzer Division Marduk is kind of one of the cornerstones of Swedish black metal. Yes, totally different corner than, say, Bathory or Dissection or some other bands like Arcanum. But Marduk is great, Panzer Division Marduk is greater. So, once again, a classic album from Sweden that one should not miss out. And the reason of this video is, of course, in about 3 weeks after this one, a new album called Victoria will be out. So, before you check out that, share some of your memories of Marduk, listen to the intensity of the band or this particular album, and you'll understand why this is a classic album not to be messed with. Panzer Division Marduk, a killer album, 5 out of 5. Check it or write it right.